Hi, my name is Marie. I like to make things and I like to turn around and show you how I made those things. Welcome to my channel. So anyway, as you can see, new studio, new tutorial, who this? It's me, it's Marie. Yeah, I gotta wait for the garbage cans to be picked up. Today, we are going to be making these studs. They are so simple to make. As a result of being so simple to make, they just look so intricate. You would think that it would be hard to do, but no. So let's get into what supplies you're going to need for this project. We're going to be needing two 7-inch pieces of 20 gauge copper wire. Then we're going to need two pieces of 24 gauge or 26 gauge, depending on what you have. And basically, these are just the thin wire that you're going to be using to tie your beads on in the center of your flowers. And how long they are really doesn't matter as long as they're more than 2 inches. Okay, you're gonna need your cutters. I call these my tiny pinchers. Look how tiny they are, they're awesome. I'm gonna need a wire straightener, my double barrel loopers from BEADSMITH, and a file. And I have these two random beads here. I believe they're about 2 millimeters. You know, they're almost like your regular run-of-the-mill E-beads. So whatever size E-beads are, because these I know are E-beads. So whatever size these E-beads are, they're basically the same size. And you can probably use E-beads to accomplish the same thing. So I got those ready to go. Make sure you also have 2 earring backs. Starting with our 20 gauge wire here, we're going to start making some loops. First, let's look at the anatomy of this earring here. Okay, so in the middle, you have your bead. Now, what we're going to be doing is starting with the area where our bead is going to sit. To do that, we're going to start with a middle loop. And then after that, we're going to start doing these little loops. And then after that, we're going to be poking that last wire that we were using to make our loops. We're going to be poking that through the back to make our post. So that's the anatomy of this earring stud. Like I said, we are going to be starting with a loop. So on my pliers, let me show you what I did with my pliers. Since I am going to be using these BEADSMITH loopers, now these pliers, this side is smaller than this side, okay? So all these loops kind of graduate in size. But in the long run, all the loops on this side are smaller than the loops that are on this side, okay? But I want to use this loop and make sure I'm using the same loop every single time, because otherwise you're going to have wonky petals on your flower, and you don't want that, okay? So what I did was, at the tip of my pliers, I put a little marker, little Sharpie mark here, just so I know as I'm trying to loop these petals and stuff, I don't get mixed up and be like, which one did I use? I know because I marked it. And besides, I always use the loops on this side for some reason. I don't know why. So I want to use this middle size right here in the loopers to create all my loops. But I think that I'm going to, for the middle part here, I think for that middle loop, I'm gonna go a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna go on this side just for this first loop, okay? This first loop is the middle loop. That's what we're doing right now. So I am just going to loop this around like so. Now I make sure that I looped it around so that it met back up with the end, okay? So I wanted to make sure I do that because that kind of secures it a little bit as a loop to make sure that it's not going to come unraveled. So I did my first little loop. Now, using the side that I have marked here, I am going to start doing my petals. Here's another thing that you have to keep in mind. When you are trying to do these loops, you want to make sure as you're doing the loops, you are securing them as you go by where you put the end of your wire. I'll show you what I mean. We've had the working wire over here, okay? We have our pliers with our loop that we already made off to the side, okay? Because we're going to be doing loops all the way around this circle, okay? Putting it on the pliers where that middle loop is that I want to use right here. I'm just going to bend it. And I like to bend sometimes with just my hand. And when I'm bending it just my hand, you see this loop right here? This is the middle loop. We want to make sure we keep in mind to bend it and make sure that the wire goes underneath that loop, okay? Keeping it behind and underneath it, okay? So let me move that around so you can see it. It's going underneath this middle loop. Now let's do our next petal, okay? Bending it around, making sure I'm going underneath everything. Later on, this is going to come in handy for you, where you're trying to like, where are all my loops? Where are all my wires? You'll know exactly where it is. So now we have 2 loops. Here's our middle loop. You could tell, I don't know if you can tell, but I could tell by looking at it that it's a little bit smaller than these loops. So I know that this is a petal and this is a petal, okay? Again, putting our wire back onto our pliers, wrapping around that middle bar, and I'm gonna go underneath and behind the middle loop, okay? Coming out on the other side. Now we have 3 petals. You can always like squish it down so that they stay within each other. And I like to move them around too, just to make sure that they're staying stable, okay? So we got 1, 2, 3 petals and then 1 little middle loop, okay? Again, we're gonna do it again for our 4th petal, going underneath the wire and underneath all the loops. So now you have a 4th petal, okay? Putting it again on my pliers to do my last petal. So wrapping it around this middle loop. We're coming out from behind. And the reason why we're doing that is going to become evident right now. The reason why we were wrapping it so that the end always ends up in the back. So let's look at what we have here. So at this point, you could just go and just be moving your loops around just to make sure it looks like a flower. If it looks like a flower, therefore it is a flower. So there you go. So now I got a nice little flower. To me, it looks like a flower, okay? Now we're gonna flip it over to the back where this wire is sitting, okay? This is where we need our little tiny pinchers. So I'm just looking at it just to see where I wanna bend up where my post is gonna go. And then I'm just gonna take my end and just bend it up, which is going to be bending it back, okay? So I'm gonna set this aside for right now, okay? Now I'm going to be taking a piece of my little 24 gauge or 26 gauge wire. I'm gonna slip my bead on now, okay? Being blind is for the birds. I have to wear readers. Okay, don't laugh at my readers. Okay, I just need to see things, and sometimes this wire is pretty hard to see. So, all right, so now I'm going to take this bead, right? And I'm gonna put it right in the middle of the wire, like so, okay? I like to look at this wire and I'm gonna just go and cross it over, okay? So I'm just crossing over the ends of this wire, okay? And then I'm going to take, right at the part where it's crossed, I'm just going to twist it once. Boom, you twist it once, that's it. That's all you need, okay? So now I have my bead on the 24 gauge, 26 gauge wire. Then I have my flower here, okay? Now, in that middle part, that's where you wanna put your bead. So I am going to put these wires close together so that it'd be easier for me to string it through. And I'm gonna make sure both these wires go in through the middle, okay? This wire, it does two things. It's going to secure the bead to the middle of this flower in between all the petals. And this wire is going to secure your petals so they're not moving around. You got 20 gauge wire, so it's not moving too much, but you also want to add a little bit more security. So this is where this wire is going to come into play, okay? Push the bead all the way through like that. So I'm going to flip it over here. Now here's the part where I'm just using my little pinchers and my fingers, and I'm just wrapping this little wire around different petals, different areas, because I'm just trying to secure these wires down so that they're not moving all over the place, and it neatens it up a little bit, whereas the bead isn't going to be flopping all over the place. So that's basically what I'm doing at this point. I am not, there's no science to it. I'm just trying to make sure that the wire isn't sticking up anywhere. And I'm also trying to make sure that it's secure in the middle of this flower, okay? Let's look at that. So I'm starting to secure these. But what I like to do, and I like to point out, is to do one end at a time. So I'm doing this one end, I'll keep wrapping that around. You're also going to be securing this post too, because this post is only bent in the middle there. So you're also wrapping this 24 gauge wire around it also in order to secure it in place also to all the petals. So this wire is doing a lot of stuff. And once I get this wire completely down as low as it can be, I'm going to cut it. And because this wire is so thin, when I cut it, I want to make sure I find it and put it in a secure location so that I'm not stepping on it later on. Okay, now let's move on to our second piece of wire. We're trying to use every little bit of wire as much as we can to secure all these in place so that everything works like a charm and everything is all secure in there and making sure nothing is moving. So I'm doing a combination of wrapping it around this post and going in between the petals. Which doesn't seem to want to happen. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm going to go back up. There we go. You want to make sure that you are putting all these little loops and pieces of wire, and it's fitting behind our bead and being hidden, okay? So we can't see it. And it'll start to get to a point where you're gonna be trying to move petals. So make sure that your petals are where you want them to be before you start wrapping this wire around, because later on, once you're trying to move these petals, it's not gonna happen. You know you did good if you're having trouble getting the wire in there into some of these loops because it's so tight. That's good. That means you're doing your job correctly. Where did that go? Okay, there it is. I see it. I think. Yep. All right, so I'm going as far as I would like to go. I'm going to cut it, secure the end, and at this point, hopefully it's starting to look like this, okay? Alrighty, so we got our bead in there. It's very secure. All the petals are secure. I can't move the petals at all. It should start to look like this. And you got this really long post. That's too long for us to put that in our ear. We don't want to do that. That's weird. So I'm going to take a ruler and I am going to locate where 1/2 inch is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it. I'm going to locate where 1/2 inch is, and I'm going to cut it at 1/2 inch. I don't know if there is any standard as to how long your post should be, but I like to keep it at 1/2 inch. That's just my ears. They don't stick too far out, but you know, 1/2 inch just works for me, okay? Since we are cutting it in this direction where the wire is going to come out right here, it should stay right where you cut it. You know what I mean? So the wire's not flying all over the place and hit you in the eye. See, stays right on your table. Didn't go very far. So anyway, this is what it looks like. Yay. Goes right in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So here's another last step. We have our little file here. So take some time to file down that end here. I just like to file the ends here. And this is what I also like about copper, is that once you start to file that down, you can see the copper a little bit. I kind of like that. I don't know why. I'm weird. But anyway, there you go. You made flower studs. Feel free to rewind, fast forward, do whatever you want to do in order to see that again, but that is basically it for this video, you guys. You guys, I'm so excited. New studio, new life situation. It's a little loud. It's a little bit on the loud side of things when I'm trying to like live my life, and it's like super loud around the house. So I'm just going to, you know that these situations are gonna come up, but you know what you're gonna do? You just go and work with it. You know, you're almost in a main spot in the house. That's where I'm at right now. So I just need to plan ahead. And before the teenager is home, before the husband gets home, do a video and then not worry about it. Okay? So all you have to do is just plan ahead. So anyway, you guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. If you guys want to be a part of my Discord, if you want to be in a part of a safe community where you can ask your questions and people are there to support you and actually help you, then email me below. If you want to be a part of my Discord and you want to be part of that safe community, email me. The email address is located below. Okay. If you guys want to be a Martian cheerleader, that is also linked below this video if you're looking at it in a browser, or below in the description box, there is a link. You can click on that and you can become a Martian cheerleader. So anyway, I guess I will see you in the next video. Okay? Bye. Yay.